Good morning, my name is Geert Asselbergs and I'm the coordinator of the EU STEM Coalition. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all at this virtual edition of the EU STEM Coalition's General Assembly, coming to you live from the zdi Fab Lab Camp Lindfort in Germany. The General Assembly is the annual conference of the EU STEM Coalition in which we discuss the latest trends and developments, as well as national and regional success stories in the area of STEM education and the labor market. In today's 2-hour program, we will start with keynote speeches to set the general stage, and then we move on to presentations about 3 topics that we think are especially relevant right now. And these are digital skills and how they can be effectively implemented in the curriculum, gender equality in STEM, and how informal education, like the Fab Lab in which we are right now, can be used to provide more context to STEM education. Now, before I introduce the first keynote speaker, I would like to say a big thanks to the zdi team and their colleagues here at the university for hosting our event, and give the word to Dr. Olivier Lakker-Gruchen, who is the president of the Rhein-Waal University of Applied Science, for a brief word of welcome.
Geert en hartelijk welkom, herzlich willkommen. Welcome to the Rhein-Waal University. Dear colleagues, students and professors, members of the EU STEAM Coalition, zdi members, and everybody who is participating today, it is my very great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the whole executive board of our university to this General Assembly meeting of the EU STEM Coalition here in Camp Lindfort. And also, again, it is a meeting in the digital world. And this will be the only word I will say about COVID-19. I'm no longer able to say anything about COVID-19, so I'm very happy to be here and to have you here. As zdi North Rhine-Westphalia is partner in the EU STEM Coalition, we are very, very happy and thankful to implement this General Assembly of the EU STEM Coalition at our Fab Lab here in Camp Lindfort. At our university, with our Fab Lab, we have one of the most impressive zdi student laboratories at our university on campus here in Camp Lindfort. And especially with our new green Fab Lab, we have the next one, perhaps, and you will see it today evening, which will be part of our Rhein-Waal Fab Academy. However, I'm very grateful to our colleagues from zdi, from the Fab Lab, also from EU STEM, from you guys, for your support you all have provided for today's conference, and particularly to Carsten Nebe and Martin Kreimann, as well as Susanne Jacobs from the zdi. Rhein-Waal University of Applied Sciences, with its 2 campuses located in Camp Lindfort and Kleve, is a university that is both deeply rooted in the Lower Rhine and connected also to the world. Our university is one of the most international and interdisciplinary universities in North Rhine-Westphalia, as you already know, and it is also in Germany. As a young, dynamic institution of higher learning, Rhein-Waal University of Applied Sciences is driven by interdisciplinary applied research. We pursue a meaningful transfer of knowledge and experiences in both teaching and research through close cooperation with all stakeholders, also within education in Germany and abroad. This approach is only made possible by our personalized and person-centered approach. Such a unique approach is what I've already learned up to now from EU STEM Coalition. As an international network of initiatives in several regions and countries in Europe, working on the improvement of education, especially in the fields which we call in Germany the MINT programs, also MINT, which is meant for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These programs, and I think Fab Lab, zdi, and many more are part of these MINT initiative in Germany. These programs try to match both these qualitative and quantitative scales to support innovation, economic growth, and adaptation to benefit from the emergence of new technologies. And also these skills have to address the needs of innovation within the climate change process more than ever. We do need future experience and experts in transformation of sustainability. I think we are together here to discuss this. We do need young scientists, such as students in schools and universities. So I'm very, very happy that today's STEM conference, within a series of interactive presentations and workshops, will address these topics: transition to experimentally sustainable societies, but also the importance of gender equality in STEM. Gender. As everybody knows, girls are underrepresented in STEM education and jobs in many, many member states of the EU and worldwide. Many countries, regions, as well as organizations, universities and schools have developed for that a wide variety of actions and approaches targeted, specialized at increasing STEM uptake among girls. The MINT initiative in Germany is also part of these activities and also at our university. But to strengthen gender and diversity activities, our university has also implemented study programs such as gender and diversity, international study programs. And we do have a vice president for the topics. But isn't it more than gender, I have to ask? Our new vice president office is dedicated to internationalization and diversity, which are key emphasis areas of our university. These areas offer great potential as unique features of our society, as well as our university, and Tatiana Simekova, as my vice president, will focus on encouraging this diverse potential. So having STEM General Assembly at our university is again, as I already told you, a great pleasure, and I'm very pleased to have uniquely placed speakers here to debate these and highlight the key themes, trends, and current practices for the audience. I'm very, very pleased to welcome, among others, the European Commissioner Mariya Gabriel. Also, we have a member of the European Parliament with us, Susanna Solis-Perez. Klaus Kaiser, State Secretary of Westphalia, also as Alex Pfizer from of Innovation and Technology from IT Invest Denmark. The wonderful thing about STEM is the international perspective members bring to these discussions, like the 2 days case study presentation, which include an update on a pilot of technology comprehension from Denmark. I'm interested in that. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear participants, I'm looking pretty much forward to today's General Assembly at our university, and I think weather is getting fine if I look outside so that we can step outside to get to the Green Fab Lab. And General Assembly at our university means together building a dynamic, innovative and performing academic community. And I sincerely hope, I definitely sincerely hope that you will enjoy today and the next hours of debate and networking at our university. Welcome and thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Locker-Grütjen. And we are, of course, very happy to be here at the university today. You touched upon already all the topics that we will definitely discuss in depth later in the program. And digital skills, gender equality in STEM, and the role of informal education, especially also in relation to the topic of gender equality in STEM. So with that said, I would like to give a warm welcome to our first keynote speaker, who is the European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, Mrs. Mariya Gabriel. Commissioner, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it is an honor to be here to open this year's General Assembly of the European STEM Coalition. And let me start by thanking the organizers and hosts, both the EU STEM Coalition and the ZDI. Well, this year's theme, STEM Skills for Environmental Sustainability, is so important. And indeed, this is one of the biggest reasons behind our work to promote STEM. We need to face the challenges of climate change, and we cannot do this without science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. Add to that the digital transition and COVID-19 recovery, and we have an excellent case to invest further in STEM. And yet, we continue to face STEM skills shortages. We lack scientific literacy and numeracy in young learners, with nearly a quarter of 15 years old lacking these basic competencies. We lack graduates with advanced skills, having less than 2 million STEM graduates every year in the EU. And we are witnessing low levels of interest in these fields. Only 1 in 5 young people in Europe graduates from STEM tertiary education. And this is especially worrying as women remain underrepresented in STEM studies. Only 1 in 3 graduates is a woman, and in ICT it is even worse, 1 in 5. And this is where the joint effort of the STEM Coalition and the European Commission come in. We need to continue working together to address these challenges. There are in particular 3 vectors that I think we need to address. First, skills, both basic and advanced. Everyone needs to understand the challenges we are facing. Second, we need more people interested in STEM. This means focusing on putting STEM into context, for example, through the STEAM approach. And third, we need to make sure we leave nobody behind. This means that we must make STEM more appealing to a more diverse group of learners, in particular women and girls. So let me tell you about these 3 vectors of action and what we are doing in the Commission. First, talking about skills. Starting with basic skills, we need measures to make sure that everyone leaves basic education with the tools they need to succeed. Otherwise, as much as we invest in advanced degrees, we'll not have as broad a pool of applicants to fill them as we need. To this end, we are launching an initiative called Pathways to School Success. This initiative will promote better educational outcomes for young Europeans. We want to reduce underachievement in reading, science, and maths. This, of course, goes well beyond sustainability, but it is the solid basis on which we can educate more STEM-empowered citizens to tackle climate change. To capitalize on our efforts at school level, we are also investing significantly in advanced skills. We have all our work on higher education, from the European Universities Initiative to the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. Whether through Horizon Europe or Erasmus+, we fund a great deal of actions, initiatives, and degrees in STEM fields. In fact, several of our European Universities Alliances support curriculum reforms focusing on sustainability. They also attempt to come closer to business and industry in their local communities. But perhaps the best example of European work developing advanced skills, not just in STEM but also in entrepreneurship, can be found in the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. The EIT is a great source of opportunity to innovate, to put STEM skills to work. And this is especially when complemented with funding support from institutions like the European Investment Fund or the European Innovation Council. And you know, the EIT promotes higher education programs in the context of their knowledge and innovation communities. Take, for example, the EIT Climate Kick. It runs several education programs and activities that develop advanced skills to accelerate the shift to a zero-carbon economy, all while developing entrepreneurial skills in their graduates and professionals. But the EIT Climate Kick goes further. Their Young Innovators program helps young people develop their skills through project-based team learning or involvement in citizen engagement initiatives like the Climaton. The second point, interest. Our romanticized view of the genius entails someone who lives in an abstract world. What we know that most people care about concrete things that impact their lives and their communities. So we need to provide a concrete context to STEM. And in this area, I have to say, the European STEM Coalition has been doing a remarkable job. Your work in helping schools interact more closely with the private sector has been truly inspiring. And this collaboration provides learners with real-life context. It motivates them to pursue science and technology careers through understanding the good they will be able to do. You have also done a great deal to promote more STEM teachers, most notably by promoting alternative pathways to teaching. And it is very important to bring multiplicity of perspectives to the classroom. It is to emphasize the multidisciplinary nature of sustainability, and that's why we launched the Education for Climate Coalition last year. The Education for Climate Coalition seeks to co-create a participatory education community to support the changes needed for a climate-neutral society. The coalition can make a real difference, including on green skills development or teacher training. And we want the coalition to help promote a holistic understanding that brings together the arts and humanities and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, what we call the STEAM approach. And this is also the approach we are promoting through the Digital Education Action Plan. But you are no strangers to this. We are collaborating with you, building on your network and expertise. And the STEAM approach is also supported by Erasmus+, of course. The program supports a number of projects to increase young Europeans' interest in STEM. Take one example, the example of the project EU Science to STEAM Up Your School. Between 2018 and 2020, this project brought together 1,250 pupils, teachers, and school leaders from 6 secondary schools across Europe to organize a science week together with national science centers and universities. This is concrete work that can inspire school leaders across the EU as a good practice. And finally, the third point that I would like to share with you, leaving nobody behind. Right at the start of this speech, I told you how there was a significant gender gap in STEM careers. Gender equality is a priority for the European Union and for me personally. And this means fighting stereotypes, preconceived notions. Schools play a key role here, building confidence, providing example of success in STEM across all genders. And of course, not everyone has to pursue a STEM career. But I don't want anyone to give up their pursuit because they don't think they will fit in on account of their gender or background. And here it is paramount to reinforce links between schools, higher education, and industry. This will expose students to real-world practitioners. We know bringing scientists to school is a successful strategy, as is mentoring. That is why we have an ongoing call for proposals to bring Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions Fellows to schools across Europe. And that's our initiative, Researchers at School. But there is another initiative that is especially interesting in the context of our team today, promoting women and girls in STEM. I'm talking about Girls Go Circular from our Digital Education Action Plan. This initiative, Girls Go Circular, takes advantage of the EIT's expertise to bring together a series of training activities for female students in secondary school. And under the coordination of the EIT raw materials, Girls Go Circular is empowering girls aged 14-18 to develop their digital and entrepreneurial competencies while acquiring knowledge on the circular economy. And the project is ambitious. It aims to empower 50,000 girls across Europe by 2027. Our efforts towards gender equality in STEM run side by side with those of the European STEM Coalition. We are working together to find ways for this project to reach as many girls as possible. And in view of this, I would like to extend to you all an invitation to the Women and Girls in STEM Forum. This is an initiative in which the Commission, the Girls Go Circular project, and the European STEM Coalitions are partners. And we know that the forum will take place on 28th of October. It will celebrate everyone participating in Girls Go Circular's initiative learning program. And I think that that will be a great opportunity for us to connect with inspirational mentors and exchange with the peers. Registration is open, so do not miss it. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, STEM is a big priority for Europe and for me personally. It is a priority because our democracy depends on it. We cannot understand the political issues of today and tomorrow without grasping the basic science behind those questions. And it is a priority because the challenges we face, climate change, the digital transition, COVID recovery, They will all hinge on how much innovation we can master. And it is a priority because it is an arena where we are fighting to preserve our fundamental values, and that we can never forgo. I think it is clear that we need to continue to work together. In this respect, for me, the European STEM Coalition is vital. You play a key role in bringing stakeholders together from within and outside academia, and we cannot go without your voice and your work. Thank you for all that you do. And now I would like to wish you a very successful General Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your opening speech to us all. As we just heard, the availability of sufficient STEM-skilled people in Europe is essential for a wide range of objectives that you already mentioned, from climate change to healthcare to inclusive societies. You also highlighted the need for us to make sure that our actions are inclusive and open to all students, whether that's from different genders or from different backgrounds. And finally, you mentioned the role of the EIT, of which we will hear more later in the program today. As we all know, the actions that are required to achieve this increase of STEM uptake are of course developed for a large part on the national and the regional level, which brings us to our next speaker.
The EU project that means shaping future through innovation. I would like to welcome you to the EU STEM Coalition's General Assembly. It's a pleasure to have you joining us online. Let me give you an overview of what we do at zdi and outline how we see and address the issues of participation, empowering girls' interests in STEM, contextualizing, and out-of-school learning. The views and ideas of children and young people are at the focus of the zdi community's activities. That is why we are keen to work with them to develop training courses and projects. Look, for example, at the Youth Science Camp program rolled out across the state. These bar camps for school students facilitate direct exchange between zdi networks and the young participants. The youngsters talk about their concerns and interests and voice their desires and aspirations. This is met with approval from all sides and has lasting positive effects. After all, we communicate as equals in both the analog and the digital world. Our newly established Youth Advisory Board is another element. Young people from all over North Rhine-Westphalia have a say in every important decision made by the zdi central office. Participation of young people and others relies on yet another instrument, our unique e-community platform, STEM Community. The first community platform to cater to young STEM enthusiasts. That is where you find an overview of all the zdi services. If you're interested in STEM, you can use it to link up with others and work on your projects. This digital network capability has helped to take the community to the next level, with more to come. Right from the beginning, the zdi community has been aiming to reach out to and engage with girls and young women. On average, 45% of the participants in our STEM courses are female. Our out-of-school learning venues are a good place for girls and young women to explore what works for them. There's no pressure, and they are free to build things, tinker around, and try out new experiments. It's always okay to make mistakes. It's an approach Commissioner Gabriel is known to support. Hopefully, zdi can inspire the EU STEM community with its activities. At zdi, we are keen to make this visible and increase awareness for the issue. With that in mind, we decided 3 years ago to make October the month of zdi heroines, dedicated to girls and women who are active in the STEM subjects. The campaign is designed to promote the social media presence of girls and young women and provide them with space to tell others about their STEM experiences. There is also the opportunity for interested parties to get to know more about STEM courses and meet potential role models as an incentive to stay with STEM. Global warming, coronavirus, or digital transformation. STEM is everywhere. That is something we want to make young people aware of. This is less about swatting mathematics and more about teaching people when and how the context to use the acquired STEM skills. At zdi, we are putting such contextualization, the application of STEM knowledge to specific situations, on a systematic footing. We live in a knowledge society, and it's becoming more and more important that knowledge transcends disciplinary lines. A solid foundation in engineering and the sciences helps a lot in other disciplines. Here I can see critical intersections between zdi and the efforts at the European level, where after all issues like digitalization, the Green Deal, health and new forms of transport are discussed. On that note, it's fair to say that zdi is first and foremost a science transformation program. With their work, the boys and girls are doing their bit to resolve the challenges. For example, by soldering and programming CO2 sensors in classrooms during the coronavirus pandemic. Whilst we are of course working closely with schools, we are very specific about creating spaces in an out-of-school environment. To that end, North Rhine-Westphalia has a closely set network of student laboratories. Today, more than 70 out-of-school learning centers belong to the zdi community. There's a variety of things on offer. Given that the labs are attached to businesses or universities with focal areas of their own. Schools are included too, so that the equipment can also be used for classroom tuition. When it comes to promoting STEM subjects, touching, experiencing and trying out things are important elements. At the end of the day, it's great fun for everybody. Thanks also to STEM. Whilst the labs focus on application, they also help the people understand the benefits brought by STEM knowledge. Thousands of people working full-time or voluntarily are showing plenty of dedication, ready to serve as role models for young people. At the same time, the laboratories provide a platform for youngsters to get involved with research. Young people interconnect between national boundaries. The Fab Lab scene here in Kamp Lintfort is a case in point. My dear participants, take your inspiration from the zdi community and please have a wonderful, productive and creative exchange.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Now with that, we have arrived at the thematic part of today's program, and the first topic we will discuss is digital skills and how they can be effectively integrated in the primary and lower secondary education curriculum. And for that, I would like to give the word to Professor Mikael Kaspersen from IT Vest in Denmark. Professor Kaspersen played a leading role in the development of a new informatics subject that is currently being piloted in Danish primary and secondary schools. And to give an impression of what this subject looks like, we will show you at the beginning of the presentation a very short video of the subject filmed in the classroom. Professor Kaspersen, I think we are missing the sound at the moment.
Okay, we'll start over.
Now it's perfect. Thank you very much.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Det kan lyde på betegnelsen teknologiforståelse, som om at det først og fremmest handler om teknologi. Det gør det i virkeligheden ikke. Det handler om teknologiens principper og nogle af de arbejdsformer og udtryksformer, som knytter sig til at arbejde med og skabe teknologi. Men det handler altså ikke om at blive 100 meter mester i den eller den konkrete teknologi.
Men det, der er rigtig vigtigt, det er, at folkeskoleelever de forstår det, der sker, når man digitaliserer samfundet. Det har stor betydning for den måde, vi lever vores liv på. Det har stor betydning for den måde, som vi skal arbejde på i fremtiden. Og det har rigtig stor betydning for den måde, vi har fællesskaber og samfund på. Der er 4 kompetenceområder inden for faget teknologiforståelse. Der er komputationel tankegang, der handler om, hvordan man modellerer verden, omsætter problemer ud fra den virkelige verden til noget, der kan behandles komputationelt. Der er teknologisk handleevne, som handler om, hvordan og hvorledes at computer i det hele taget virker, hvordan vi kan sende noget over afstand, eller hvordan internettet er bygget op af digital design og designprocesser. Og det handler om, hvordan vi skaber teknologi, så den kan være meningsfyldt for andre mennesker at bruge. Og det eneste er digital myndiggørelse. Det handler om, hvordan at andre har designet til os, og dermed indlejret intentionalitet ind i produkterne, sådan at vi kan bruge dem enten som vi gerne vil, eller som producenterne ønsker, at vi skal bruge dem.
Vi går meget i skole for at lære at reproducere. Det er ikke tilstrækkeligt i den tid, vi lever i. Vi skal have det kreative, skabende element med. Det skal lærerne glæde sig til i det her fag, at der er så meget rum til kreativitet og rigt udtryk, som samtidig giver indsigt og læring, først og fremmest i forhold til den faglighed, som det her handler om, men som også kan smitte af på andre fag.
Jeg tror i virkeligheden, at teknologiforståelse er noget, vi vil opleve, der kommer til at gennemsyre hele vores uddannelsessystem, hvor man bliver nødt til at forholde sig til, hvordan data og datalogien udfordrer det enkelte fagfelt. Så det bliver enormt spændende at følge, hvordan vi i Danmark kan tage hånd om det her og gøre det til noget, der gør, at vi kan blive endnu bedre til at bygge fællesskaber og samfund, som vi har lyst til at leve i, gennem det at forstå os på digital teknologi.
Altså den her teknologiforståelse, den gør jo, at de lige pludselig har magten selv til at skabe. Det vil sige, at de kan skabe noget helt nyt, men de kan også gå ind og være medskaber eller reskabe et allerede eksisterende produkt. Så det vil sige, når de nu på et eller andet tidspunkt finder ud af, at Google vil noget helt særligt med dem, når de er på Google, jamen, så kan det godt være, at de laver en anden søgemaskine, som ikke vil noget helt særligt med dem. Så altså, jeg tænker, at den her magt, de får over det digitale, den er alfa og omega for, at de kan begå sig i et demokratisk samfund. Altså, det er helt essentielt.
Hello everybody, I am Michael Kaspersen and I am here to present the Danish model for informatics in general education. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk at your General Assembly. It is an honor and a privilege. A little bit about myself. I have a background in informatics with informatics education as my research area. For 7 years, I was, this may also be of interest to you, I was the director of Center for Science Education at Aarhus University, where we worked to improve science education at all educational levels, from cradle to grave, you might say. Since 2017, I am Executive Director of IT West Networking Universities, which is an organization promoting informatics education and research at the 3 universities in Western Denmark. A 2-tier model for informatics in general education is one of our strategic focus areas. A 2-tier model which we promote at all educational levels, even at university. I will speak mostly about primary, lower secondary and upper secondary school level today. Since 2008, I have worked and been involved in development of informatics as a subject relevant to all in general education, first at the upper secondary level, and since 2016, also at primary and lower secondary level, where I have, among other things, co-chaired the group developing the trial subject you are about to hear about today. I'm also involved in the European Informatics for All Coalition as a founding member of the coalition and as chair of the group currently working on developing a common European informatics curriculum framework for school. I will now share with you my presentation. There we are. So here we go. The outline of my talk is as follows. I will start with a brief introduction on the vision and objectives of informatics in general education. Then I will present the structure of the Danish informatics curriculum. And following that, I will briefly describe how a number of trial projects have played a central role in the process. I will share some lessons learned from the just finished trial project in primary and lower secondary school, the outcome of which is highly encouraging. Towards the end, I will indicate the next steps we are expecting and certainly hoping for. And I will close with the references to resources you might be interested in pursuing for further information and inspiration. But let us first consider the why, that is the vision and objectives for informatics in general education. We consider informatics to be a fundamental discipline for the 21st century. And by fundamental, I mean a discipline that, like language and math, is important to excel in all other subjects. Thus, we envisage the future educational landscape to look something like this, with language, informatics, and mathematics as the fundamental subjects for school. And all of these are here I have highlighted informatics as the background for learning all other subjects. This may seem as a bold vision, but it is far from new. The first Danish professor in computing, or datalogi as he named it, and Turing laureate Peter Nauer presented this vision 55 years ago in a series of radio lectures on the Danish Broadcasting Corporation, where he put it like this. And mind you, this was in 1966. To conceive the proper place of datalogi in the curriculum, it is natural to compare with subjects of similar character. One will then realize that languages and mathematics are the closest analogies. Common for the three is also their character as tools for many other subjects. Now, this has also been realized by the European Commission. The second version of the Digital Education Action Plan for 2021 to 2027 was published, I think, exactly a year ago today, and only 2 years after publication of the first version. Among other things, the new plan expresses the need for a focus on an inclusive, high-quality computing education or informatics at all levels of education. To follow up, the European Informatics for All Coalition have suggested to collaborate with the EU Commission on development of an official informatics competence framework, complementary to the digital skills competence framework on user skills. So indeed, informatics must have a prominent place in the modern school curriculum, and for many reasons. See, IT is not just another technology. All other technologies stretch our physical abilities, but information technology stretches our cognitive abilities and enables us to partially or completely automate complex cognitive processes in all aspects of life. In principle, anything we can think may potentially be represented computationally, and we are not even close comprehending the opportunities and risks this implies. This is a radical novelty, as the Dutch computing scientists Edgar Wiebe Dijkstra said more than 30 years ago. It is also much more than Industry 4.0. I think it is appropriate to talk about the computational revolution and to position it alongside the revolution of the printing press and the Industrial Revolution. After some 100 years or more, the printing press gave rise to reading and writing becoming a skill all people should learn. That too was a radical novelty, and it dramatically advanced humankind's cultural ability. The Industrial Revolution drove the development of modern math, natural science, and vice versa, of course, and it dramatically advanced humankind's physical ability and welfare. The computational revolution, which had its origin almost 180 years ago in the beginning of the Victorian era, and which our society is now finally beginning to realize, drives development of informatics and computational methods with huge implications for all aspects of society and indeed all other modern technologies. Now let me focus on the structure of the Danish curriculum, which is our current response to this challenge of including informatics as an ambitious and inclusive topic at all levels of education. But let us for a moment go 13 years back in time to 2008. Apparently, there was something special in the air that year, and not only in Denmark. In many countries around the world, 2008 marked the renaissance of computing in high school. It's not that computing wasn't present in high school. In Denmark, we have had it in high school since around 1971, but there was a renaissance, you could say, for computing in high school taking place around 2008. In Denmark, a group is formed by the Ministry of Education, and in early November 2008, work was initiated which led to a modern informatics subject appearing in high schools as a trial subject in 2011 and as a permanent subject since 2016. Similar development took place in many other countries. 3 other examples are mentioned here and with references to papers on the 4 mentioned initiatives. A recurring theme and quest in all of these initiatives and what I called the renaissance of informatics in high school was to design a modern, relevant and attractive informatics subject, attractive for all. Instead of looking inward by diving deeply into more or less arbitrary idiosyncrasies of, say, programming technologies or what have you, the common goal was to develop a curriculum that opened to the world by pinpointing the broad and deep relevance of informatics to individuals and societies. Here is an outline of the 2009 Danish curriculum for informatics in high school. One of the 6 core topic areas was use and impact of IT on human activity. The purpose of this competence area was that students should understand that digital artifacts and their design has a profound impact on people organizations, and social systems. Design of a system is not just design of the digital artifact and its interface, it's also design of the use and workflow that unfolds around the artifact. The purpose of this is that students understand the interplay between the design of a digital artifact and the behavioral patterns that intentionally or unintentionally unfolds. And please note that this was included in our high school curriculum when it was designed in 2019, before anyone talked about social media and before Facebook had really caught on. Now let's focus on the structure of the more novel curriculum for the primary and lower secondary level. The Danish informatics curriculum for primary and lower secondary school consists of 4 competence areas. You heard about them in the introductory video, but let me repeat them here. So it's digital empowerment, digital design and design processes, computational thinking and modeling, and technological knowledge and skills. Digital empowerment provides critical skills to analyze how others have designed for us and thus embedded intentionality in digital artifacts so we can use them as we want to or as the producers want us to use them. This competence area is for digital artifacts what literature analysis is for novels, but with the additional liberating component of reframing and redesign, realizing that digital artifacts are human-made and could have been designed differently if other perspectives had been applied. Digital design and design processes is about how to create technology which is meaningful for people to use. Computational thinking and modeling is about how to model aspects of the world, how to map real-life situations to representations which can be processed computationally. There's a lot of challenges involved in that representation task or process. Technological knowledge and skills is about how computers actually work, how the internet works, and how to deal with the safety and security aspects. And last but certainly not least, how to program computers. The 4 competence areas constitute a holistic approach to informatics, which I will describe in terms of this model of computational modeling, if you like. The real or an imaginary world is populated with phenomena and activities, which through analysis and abstraction can be understood in terms of concepts and use cases. Through computational modeling, these can be prioritized, structured, and modeled for computational representation. And through design and construction using digital technology, new digital artifacts can be developed to manipulate and transform these representations into something which hopefully provides value through interpretation and use back in the real world. The 4 competence areas maps more or less one-to-one to the 4 processes in this model. Digital design and design processes covers primarily activities related to the problem domain and thus the human perspective of computing or informatics. Computational thinking and modeling maps to the process going from problem domain to the computational model system, from the human perspective to the technical perspective. Technological knowledge and skills provide competences to design and construct digital artifacts. Excuse me. And digital empowerment relates to the process back from the computational model system to the problem domain, from the technical perspective to the human perspective. Analytical competences provided by digital empowerment will strengthen the 3 other competence areas, and vice versa. If you actually know how to build digital artifacts, your critical and constructive analysis can become much richer and much deeper. The new subjects for upper secondary school and later for primary and lower secondary school have both been offered as trial subjects for a period. The new informatics subject for high school was developed in 2009 to 2010, and offered as a trial subject for 6 years until it became permanent with a major reform of upper secondary education in Denmark in 2016. After the subject was made permanent, several projects began to explore the use of informatics in other subjects. That is, to use informatics for disciplinary renewal. Excuse me, and let me pause a little bit on that aspect of informatics, the use in other disciplines or other subjects in school. Quite a few projects have explored this opportunity, and it is very promising. In particular, I encourage you to watch the video accessible by clicking on the image on the bottom right to get an idea of how computational literacy may be a driver for disciplinary renewal. And if we step back a little bit and think about the computational revolution and the computational expressions that we can enable students to embrace, or pupils in school to embrace, we can think of this as a new language, as a new cultural technique, you might say. In addition to spoken language and written language and mathematical language, we can also talk about the computational language. And every time it's not so often it happens, but these languages have different qualities, and here is a description of the quality of the mathematical language compared to natural language. And I will exemplify this with this Gruk by Danish poet and scientist Piet Hein. It is indeed too odd for words that halves 3/4 of 2/3. It's not easy to parse and understand what is expressed in this little Gruk here, but if we express it mathematically, it's quite simple to express and also to parse and understand what is being asserted here. It's also, if you have the basic mathematical training, easy to verify whether this is true or false. So mathematical language obviously has some very strong qualities, particular qualities compared to natural language. Similarly, with computational language compared to mathematical language. Here is an example of wave modeling, and on the right there is an excerpt from a 40-page document which a high school teacher in physics in Denmark found at an American university's homepage. It describes the mathematics of waves, of modeling waves, and it's very complicated mathematics with stochastic methods and a couple of differential equations and lots of other good stuff, as it's said. It's really inaccessible to most people. If you want to model waves, however, you can use computational language, and all it takes compared to the mathematical equipment that is needed for the mathematical modeling, all it takes to create a computational model is the ability to add two numbers and divide by 2. Because if you look at each of the particles in a wave, they do not move horizontally, but only vertically. So the x-coordinate is constant, and the y-coordinate of a particle just tries to keep pace with its neighbors. So if you know where the two neighbors are, you can also calculate where you want to be as a particle in the next time frame. So this way of modeling from a local perspective, the behavior of agents, as it is called, in a complex dynamic system, enables a much simpler description of behavior of the agents, and which can lead to very simple and easily accessible computational models of complex dynamic systems, and here exemplified by wave modeling. In fact, the physics teacher from high school in Denmark had found this description on an American university's homepage, and he also found a description of how to implement that complicated mathematics in Python, a programming language, and he actually made it work. But of course, it wasn't accessible at all to the students. But this simple decentral model, computational model, if you like, based on what we call agent-based modeling, is simple and accessible, even to kids in, I would say, 6th grade or something like that. And this means that kids in school can start working with understanding the nature of waves. They can work to understand various aspects of waves, like frequency, amplitude, interference, and plasticity of materials, and so forth. Mitz Resnick, which is a professor at MIT, in the lifelong kindergarten group, has put it this way, that as we learn to read and read to learn, we should also learn to code and code to learn. So this is the two-tier strategy for informatics in school, as you might say. And here, via those two images, there are links to videos with Mitch Resnick and Natalie Rusk, where they present their vision of computational literacy and coding as a new way for people to share ideas with the world, an extended form of writing, or a fourth language, if you like. Many of these ideas were formulated by Andrew DeSessa in his inspiring book from 2000, Changing Minds, Computers, Learning and Literacy. If you're really interested in these things, I encourage you to have a look at some of these resources. Anyway, let's go back to the trail and the trial projects that we have had in school in Denmark. We talked about high school as a subject and in subjects, exploring via various projects the opportunities of using informatics in other subjects. Now let's focus on primary and lower secondary school, and the trial subject for informatics, we call it in the trial period, at least in Denmark, technology comprehension. The subject was developed in 2018, and since early 2019, it has run on trial in 46 schools across the country for 2.5 years. The trial period ended this summer, and the final evaluation is just about to be published. Following that, we await the political decision about the future of the subject in the Danish school system. So, what have we learned from the trial period, which, mind you, has been conducted without prior education or training or anything of neither teachers nor teachers involved in the project? Today I can share with you some rumors about the soon-to-be published final evaluation of the project. There are many nice things to be said. You can read this for yourself. But what I find particularly rewarding is that no gender differences has been recognized. The curriculum truly appeals to all pupils in school. But also that people, and all people, teachers, leaders, consultants, pupils, of course, and teachers and so forth, involved in the trial project see a huge potential for the two-tier model and the opportunity to use informatics as a driver for renewal of other disciplines. So what are the next steps we are expecting? Well, initially we have some urgent initiatives. As I have already mentioned, we are all awaiting the political decision about the future of informatics in general education in Denmark. Once it hopefully becomes mandatory in primary and lower secondary school, we expect it also to become mandatory in all upper secondary schools. Developing a radically new subject for school, a subject that is not already well established as a mandatory subject in upper secondary school, has never been done before. Not in Denmark, and probably nowhere else in the world. To succeed, funding is needed. Private foundations are ready to contribute substantial amounts to, but a political decision and public funding is necessary to establish democratic legitimacy for the foundations to step in. And for almost 2 years, the road has been paved for establishing a national center for informatics education, a center responsible for competence and capacity building high in the supply chain, and to facilitate implementation through qualified scaffolding with phased guidance. We estimate an implementation period of about 10 years. The estimated cost of implementation is roughly 1 billion Danish kroner, the equivalent of around 130 million euros. The ultimate goal is a two-tier approach all the way up through the educational system, with informatics as a discrete subject and used in all of the subjects for disciplinary renewal. We work on this also at the university level, both in research and education. So here are a few resources available in English about the Danish model for informatics in general education. There are, you already saw one, there are 5 official videos on the trial subject. There is a paper on the rationale and design of the informatics curriculum for upper secondary school. This paper dates back from 2013. There's also a vision paper and a video, which I already mentioned, on the potential of using informatics as a driver for renewal of other subjects. The vision paper is from 2014 and the video is from last year. And finally, there is a brand new chapter on the Danish model for informatics in general education. This chapter is one of 46 chapters in the book Perspectives on Digital Humanism, which is freely available online and which will be published by Springer later this fall as a physical book. You know, these old-time things we used to have on the shelves. I would also like to mention 2 notable Norwegian initiatives. Today and tomorrow I attend as member of the advisory board the kick-off meeting of the Mascot project, which runs for the next 3 years. This will probably be of interest to many of you. It's about mathematics, science, and computational thinking. So integrating informatics in the sciences and in informatics, you might say. And as a final pointer, I must mention also the Center for Computing in Science Education at Oslo University. Here I provide a link to a talk by Professor and Director Anders Malte Sørensen, and I encourage you to watch the video. It is highly compelling. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Kaspersen. Now, before we continue, I would like to point out that if you like to learn a bit more about the Danish pilot program, you'll find an English overview on the EU STEM Coalition website under Programs, where there are also some links to short videos that show each of the individual competence areas, the 4 competence areas that Professor Kaspersen mentioned. And of course, we will also share with you the presentation of Mr. Kaspersen, including all the links to the resources that he has mentioned. That brings us to the second topic of today, which is gender equality in STEM. Unequal representation of men and women in STEM jobs and education is, as we know, an issue in virtually all EU member states. As highlighted in earlier presentations, addressing this is of crucial importance for a number of reasons, not in the least to reduce STEM shortages in the labor market. So for this part, we would first like to show you a short video message from Susanna Solis, who is a member of the European Parliament and rapporteur of a recently adopted resolution on gender equality in STEM. And then we'll hear 2 short reflections, first from Dr. Alice Weiser of the European Institute for Innovation and Technology, the EIT, that was also already mentioned this morning. And we'll close with a reflection of a student who's actually about to embark on a STEM higher education career herself. So we'll now see the video from Susanna Solis.
Hello, for those who don't know me, my name is Susana Solis and I am a Spanish member of the European Parliament. As both an engineer and a woman, the underrepresentation of women and girls in STEM has long been at the top of my political agenda. Because it is disappointing to see that the ratios of women in the field have remained practically the same since I started my degree in mechanical engineering 30 years ago. And despite the importance of this issue, I was surprised to realize that not much was being done at EU level to tackle this. This is why one of the first steps I took at the Parliament was to present a report advancing gender equality in STEM education and careers, which was approved by a big majority here in the Parliament. And I was very happy to see that the institution had a strong message to send. We want girls to become more involved in STEM education and careers because they must be a part in the design of the world of the tomorrow. Today, 40% of European scientists and engineers are women. But when we look at fields like artificial intelligence or cybersecurity, the number is much worse. Only 12 and 20% of women respectively. And we have to turn these figures around. In a moment when the EU is massively investing in the digital and green transitions, women cannot be absent. This could mean, on the one hand, that they are not present in the design and in implementation of new technologies, which could easily lead to potential biases, but also that they will lag behind in some of the highest paying jobs, and we will continue widening the current gender pay and pension gap. And in this regard, the European Institute of Gender Equality is clear. Gender inequality in STEM has an impact on GDP, on levels of unemployment, on productivity, and on competitiveness. Only one figure: closing the gender gap in STEM would lead to a 3% increase in EU GDP per capita by 2050. But there is more to this issue. It also stimulates a highly detrimental self-reinforcing pattern, because it is precisely because less women study and work in STEM that these fields tend to create male-dominated cultures that are neither supportive of nor attractive to women. As a consequence, young girls have fewer role models to inspire their interest in these fields. Indeed, having very limited examples of female scientists and engineers in books, media, and popular culture further disincentivizes them from pursuing a career in STEM. How can we possibly expect young girls to develop an interest in a field they view as inaccessible? From my personal experience, I can say this: you don't choose what you don't know. So let's put an end to this vicious circle. Let's shine the spotlight on current female role models in the field, because, believe me, there are many women doing incredible things every single day. Let's draw attention to Katalin Karikó, whose expertise was essential in the development of the COVID vaccines, or to Andrea Ghez, who became the 4th woman to win a Nobel Prize in Physics just last year. Let's put an end to this vicious circle. This is why, on the report, it was very important for me to express the need to work on removing all barriers that restrict women's preferences and choices, without compromising their freedom in decision-making, of course. But we have to give women the tools to decide what they want to work on in a system that is designed both for men and women. And in this sense, I have focused on encouraging member states to promote women in STEM studies and careers within their gender action plans, and to invest in education and training in the field through an educational curriculum that is more appealing to women. I have tried also to motivate a change in the way we communicate STEM to young girls and women. And this is the key point. We have to be able to transmit the importance of science in helping the most pressing issues of our time, from designing the new generation of robots to using AI in healthcare and to climate change. The report also notes the important link between the underrepresentation of women in STEM and broader issues such as flexible working arrangements, maternity and paternity leaves, underrepresentation of women on boards, and pay transparency. Overall, through this report, I have aimed to alert European citizens and the EU institutions that we must do more. We must focus on reducing the gender pay gap, on achieving work-life balance, and on moving forward in parental leaves. We must ensure equal opportunities, non-discrimination in the labor market, and ensure that girls have visible female role models in STEM. We must be able to create a society in which women are able to choose what they want to do without barriers. And I am certain that we will. I want to thank you all for contributing to this very important debate, which I am positive is taking us in the right direction to reach gender parity in STEM. Thank you very much. Dankeschön.
Thank you, Susanna Solis. Now we'll move to two short reflections on the topic. And for the first reflection, I would like to give the word to Dr. Alice Weiser of the European Institute for Innovation and Technology, who will say a few words on EIT's objectives and activities in this area.
Thank you and good morning. Dear ladies and gentlemen from the STEM Coalition, also a very warm good morning from all the people who are following us online. And schönen guten Morgen and greetings from Budapest. I would like to sincerely thank you for having the EIT and for giving us the opportunity to present how we work and how we actually get to these results that the Commissioner kindly mentioned already in her introduction. Let me start a bit with the background on the EIT, because there is a bit to know about how we actually get to these results. In a nutshell, the EIT is an innovation machine. We are here to help to get ideas out of the garage, out of the laptop, and to make them become a reality. We have the feet on the ground, as you have already heard, to make this happen. And if you imagine flying cars or navigation belts for blinds, you will think probably this is science fiction, but no. It's results and products and innovations already produced by the EIT. And you can see from these examples that our work is actually very STEM focused, and our entire organization is crucially linked to STEM. Hence, we have to go an extra mile to achieve gender equality. I would say gender equality is part of the EIT's DNA and at the core of everything we do and we touch. And our logic, hence, is powering innovation is not only financing innovators, but we believe strongly that innovation needs actually to start very early on and needs a pipeline of ideas, talent, and supporting environment, which is tailor-made to the needs of the young generation who needs to come up with innovations. And here we mean all talents, women and men equally. Because innovators are not only the people on the market who have already a bright idea in a product. No, this starts actually at the earliest stage, and we're equipping the people with what they need to succeed, rather with the prefixed support. So 2008 was already mentioned as a crucial year, and that was actually also the start of the EIT. So with more than a decade of existence of the EIT's largest existence, the EIT is the largest innovation ecosystem in Europe, and we are proud to say that we have around 3,000 partners working with us in 60 innovation hubs across Europe and even beyond. We have antennas in Silicon Valley as well as in Israel. We believe that our success is very much based on our unique approach, namely the ecosystem building. We unite business, research, and education in the so-called knowledge and innovation communities. You've heard about the KICs, and we have eight KICs as such, and they're working in areas that are very STEM heavy, covering renewable energies, raw materials, digitization, health, and others. And we know that women are not represented equally in these areas. So what do? They deliver innovation through entrepreneurial education programs, innovative research projects, and business creation and acceleration services. Over the past decade, we have supported more than 3,800 ventures, helped create 1,400 products and services, and helped to raise 4 billion in external investment. We have also graduated over 3,000 master and PhD students and enrolled more thousands in training programs. We know that the share of women is around 30%, while it actually greatly varies across the different KICs, and the spread is around 20 to 45%. With our unique approach, we are also proud to say that we have already achieved EIT-backed startups that have reached a unicorn status. You might have heard about Northvolt, a company strongly supported by InnoEnergy in a very early stage. This company is developing the greenest lithium-ion batteries, or for example, Lilium Aviation, which has been backed by EIT Climate Cake, that was mentioned earlier, who has designed the first electric vertical takeoff and landing jet, which we call a flying taxi. So, if you would like to describe the EIT in one sentence, I would say we're about breaking down barriers and borders for more innovation. And I have to highlight here again that we cannot do this effectively without women. So, some interesting stats in this context. World Bank studies have shown that women entrepreneurs make actually a significant contribution to the economic growth, not only in developing countries, but also in high-income countries. And the European Commission's report on women in digital age has found that investment in female-founded startups, they perform actually 63% better than exclusively male-founded startups. At the same time, we know from the statistics from the European Commission Startup Monitor that only 17% of female startup founders are there. So there is a lot to do, and these figures represent for the EIT a clear call to action, and we believe we have actually a lot to contribute to this game. From a strategic, so how do we do this? From a strategic perspective, in the next 7 years, we were requested to pay particular attention to gender balance and a gender-sensitive approach. We are strongly committed carving out an inclusive and diverse innovation ecosystem. This includes, as I've mentioned before, more tailor-made innovation opportunities and especially supporting women innovators. We have created for this as a long-term EIT strategy, which is then translated in the EIT community's internal organization, but also above all in its operation. So how do we walk the talk inside the EIT? First, the EIT itself is currently led by a female chair, Mrs. Joya Getzi, and she is the chair of the governing board. She is supported by a governing board that is made up of 50% women who come from a broad background, including aeronautics, such as nuclear energy engineering and industrial engineering. So you can see we translate this goal also in our leadership. In addition, just this month, a new female president of the EIT alumni was appointed. Her name is Anca Del Rio, and she's set to represent over 15,000 alumni from all over the CAIX. She herself is an innovator who founded the Digital Aid Project, a global COVID resilience and response initiative. In addition, we know that women have actually very limited access to business networks. So to solve this, the EIT alumni community has created a Women at EIT initiative, which is a vibrant, unique network of women from the EIT community, connecting students, alumni, and also senior community members, with the aim to grow together. This network has over 700 female students, and they're also spanning across all the EIT CAIX. Now, looking at the operations, which is of course core for us, because this is where the actual machinery sits and where the change is coming from. Of course, we have an eagle eye to make sure that women benefit along all our business streams and programs. We believe that we need tailor-made access for women in the EIT CAIX activities in the field of business support activities, such as accelerators, specifically designed and developed for women. We also think that we need educational activities for women, including that level of secondary school, higher education, as well as on professional levels, and of course also innovation activities. To get this in practice, really implemented and not having just nice words in some sort of papers, We have started to do gender-sensitive planning and monitoring of work programs, business plans, and budget. We believe this is key. In addition, we also make sure that actually experts who are supporting the evaluation of our business plans and grant reporting are women. We have around 55% of women here who are delivering this work together with us, and this has changed over the past 10 years. We started with 10% only. We've also made a gender diversity criterion in KIC management, a criterion for the annual funding award for all EIT knowledge and innovation communities, and we can see that this actually really pays off, as around 45% of women are part of the management positions in the KICs. So this is more about the internal machinery, but now a couple of examples that how all of this translates into activities and in programs. To empower women to become innovators and entrepreneurs, we have understood very soon that we have to start early on. That's why the EIT has started to running entrepreneurship programs and digital workshops for young women aged 12 to 18, and this was mentioned before. It's the Skills for Future and the Girls Go Circular, and you will hear more about this in the afternoon, and I'm glad that this is part of the program. To date, we have more than 1,600 women that have been trained with our activities across entire EU, and we're proud to say that we're actually going especially to places where women are probably even more underrepresented in STEM areas. We are also putting extra money into these efforts if it's needed. Further along the way, we have to offer a wide range of programs specifically dedicated to women. Just to name a few in this context, EIT Health. EIT Health has called We Health, a campus project that enhances the participation of women in health innovation and entrepreneurship. It's really capacity building training to advance professional careers in this area. EIT Food has a program which is called Hungry Sheepreneurs, a workshop or a series of workshops which aims to give solutions to challenges women face in the agri-food sector on a daily basis. Again, EIT Raw Materials, it has an NG project, it's called, and it's encouraging girls to study geosciences and engineering. It aims at girls between the age of 13 and 18 years old. So I could continue this list for a long, and I don't want to do that, but what I want to make clear here, that it is crystal clear that women have to be part of the equation, and it has to be streamlined for everything we do as the EIT, but also the KICs. We need more female role models in innovation and business, and especially in entrepreneurship. We need to also champion successful women. And that is also why we had invented or created an EIT Women Award in 2018 to recognize talented and inspiring women entrepreneurs. While nothing is good, actually, that it couldn't be improved, and we are completely aware of that, but we believe that we have managed to pave the way for quite a range of talented women that we actually see regularly in the awards, but also in other categories, of course, who are making their way and creating their businesses. As an example of one of the winners we had in 2019 is Mrs. Sara Guimaraes Gonzalez. She has her company created called Trigger System. It reduces environmental impact of irrigation agriculture activities in Europe by tackling excessive use water in irrigation through control system. Why this sounds very technical, but it shows that a lot is happening. And Sarah is just one of the many talented and inspiring women we actually have in the EIT community. So let me close by passing the message. We're doing a lot, and we're pushing this point very much on our agenda, and it's in the heart of the EIT. And I would like to use this opportunity also to thank the organizers actually now for the excellent preparation of this event. And I wish you further fruitful discussions during the day. And I'm also looking forward to hear more about the Girls Go Circular. Thank you, and bye-bye from Budapest.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser, for this interesting overview and also for highlighting how the gender equality objective is integrated really in all the different layers of EIT's activities. Now, for the next reflection, we will hear from Kaylee Papadopoulou, who is a student who is not only about to embark on a STEM higher education career, but also recently participated in one of EIT's initiatives in the area of STEM and entrepreneurship, Girls Go Circular, that was already mentioned by the Commissioner this morning. Kaylee, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me. My name is Mariya Gabriel, but you can just call me Kelly. And I am 18 years old. I just finished high school in Platon schools in Terini. And next week I'm starting my studies at the University in Thessaloniki as an electrical and computer engineering. Before we go any further, I would like to thank you for having me, for giving me the opportunity to participate at this meeting. I am really honored and grateful.
Thank you very much for being with us. Maybe as a first question, we just heard in the speech of Susanna Solis, the member of the European Parliament, about what she calls the vicious cycle of girls not choosing STEM. So what made you decide to go into the direction of STEM higher education?
Basically during school, I really loved the STEM subject, especially mathematics. It was the only subject that I really loved to study ever since I started school. And growing up, I realized that everything is related to physics. Like the way I will throw my pen and it will land on the ground can be easily explained if you simply know physics, and that is really interesting. So I had already decided that even if I chose a different university, I would really love to learn more about STEM subjects. Moreover, I visited to CERN with my school, made me realize that I really want to work there. And they told me that every summer, some students from my university can go make their internship there. So I decided that I want to try. Even though I have to work really hard to get accepted, I really want to go and work there.
That's nice. Well, I'm sure you'll need a STEM degree to work at CERN in Switzerland. Maybe as a second question, because it was also already mentioned by the Commissioner about the Girls Go Circular initiative, in which you also recently participated. This is one of the initiatives of EIT, and could you talk a little bit about what your experience was with participating in that initiative?
It was great, honestly. I really liked that project and I found it really interesting and remarkable, trying that to get more girls into STEM. I really liked how our teachers managed to give a broader context into STEM. Like they linked STEM subjects to the real world. Like they showed us that how STEM subjects, if you know STEM subjects actually, you can actually protect the environment. And that is really interesting because they skipped the theoretical part and they showed us that chemistry, that is a theoretical subject, let's say, can actually have a practical role into our lives. And that is really interesting.
Good. Well, thank you. It's good to hear that it was a positive experience. And do you think, because to me it sounds like you had already kind of made your mind up about what you wanted to do after your secondary school, do you think that activities like this, like Girls Go Circular, actually help in getting more students interested into STEM? And are there perhaps any other things that you think could be useful to do for students to at least be introduced to what a STEM career could look like in secondary schools?
Of course, I think it is really important for students to participate in activities like this. Like, it is really important for students to exchange their minds with students from other countries. Like, 3 years ago, I participated in another program called Science Girls, which was actually based on girls not choosing STEM subjects, and it for sure played a big role in me choosing this path. We even traveled to some countries and we met up with some girls. We had some projects and we talked with some women that are already in this path. And I think it is really important for students to have experiences like this. It can really help them understand that STEM subjects are not actually as much difficult as everyone presents them. And society has created a delusional, let's say, that STEM subjects are only for boys, and that if a girl like this kind of stuff, they are weird and different than everyone else, which is not true at all. Like, girls can for sure make it to a STEM, make an impact into the STEM world, let's say. And I think, yeah, that's all. And I think if I can make another suggestion for something more interesting for students, especially girls, I feel like teachers should use more experiments and like give up on the theoretical part of the subject and give more emphasis to the practical part, because this way students will not get bored. Like, make some competitions maybe and make them work on groups or something like that, because that way students will be more interested and invested in this kind of subject.
Well, thank you. Well, that's some very clear advice to what needs to change in education right now. Maybe as a final question, because you mentioned Girls Go Circular, but you also mentioned another project in which you participated that actually had you travel abroad. Would you say that that is recommended for students to take an experience abroad or participate in some kind of international exchange as part of their studies already in secondary school?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we traveled with our teachers, so everything was, of course, safe. It is really important because that way students can see the world outside their environment. Like, they can see how the world works in different countries. They can talk with students from other countries. They can exchange their minds. They can like suggest maybe something that they saw at the school that they visited. They can suggest. They can make those suggestions at their school, so they can change in a really positive way. And I think it is a great experience and incomparable to anything else.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Kaylee, for sharing your experiences with us today. I wish you best of luck with your future studies next year.
Thank you very much for having me.
With that, we have arrived at the final topic of today, which focuses on the role of informal education in increasing interest in STEM education and careers. And for that, I would like to give the word to Dr. Martin Kreiman and Professor Karsten Nebe of the Rhein-Waal University of Applied Science, who will give a brief insight on the role and function of the Fab Labs in their university.
Kommt zu mir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fab Lab Camp Lindfurt. This is Professor Karsten Nebe. My name is Martin Kreiman. I'm the Fab Lab manager. We started our lab in 2014 as part of the initiative Zukunft durch Innovation and the Global Fab Lab Network. Since then, we've been running workshops about digital fabrication for pupils and teachers. Our initiative inspired the university to establish 2 more Fab Labs, the Green Fab Lab and the Fab Lab Blue. On top of that, we've been supporting more than 20 high schools to have their own Fab Lab. To get an impression of our work, please watch this video.
Thanks, Martin, for the introduction. I'm Carsten Neber. I'm the director of the Fab Lab here in Kamp-Lintfort. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. As for many people, a Fab Lab is not just a place full of machines. Indeed it is, but for us it's an open space. It's an open space to learn, to share experience, and to gather new insights, to gather new skills. Of course, as we are a university Fab Lab, our focus primarily is the students. But not only. We are open. We are an open space. We are an open lab. We are open to our students. We are open to pupils and teachers from schools. We are open to industry, and we are of course open to the society, to the citizens in the region. So for us, and Fab Lab is an open space, and this is really important. We have student courses which are integrated into our curricula, for example. So we have roughly had about 50 courses on digital fabrication integrated into our study programs. We do offer workshops almost every week for schools and pupils, teachers in the schools. We have the open lab where everybody can come and do things that he or she ever wanted to do. And we are offering advanced education on digital fabrication, which is called the Fab Academy. So we have been the first ones in Germany offering Fab Academy to the community. Fab Academy is a really broad, extensive program of digital fabrication, almost 6 months of intense working on digital fabrication skills. And it's open to everyone. It's open to our students. It's open to everyone, even from companies and industry. So taking this into account, with all these activities of empowerment, we want to skill people. We want to bring digital fabrication into the people's mindset and skill set. We want to enable people to become innovators, to become makers, to make the world a bit better. To give you a glimpse of an idea how people perceive this experience being in this Fab Lab, watch this video. The specialty on this Fab Lab is the interdisciplinary skills that we try to combine here at this university, at this Fab Lab situated at the University of Applied Sciences. We do have designers, psychologists, computer scientists, biologists, and all work together to make the world a little bit better.
I was a researcher in Italy for 3 years, and I did the Fab Academy. And then after this beautiful course, I decided to change my life, resign my contract, and come here into Kamp-Lintfort Fab Lab to work.
I have different backgrounds as well in my career, and I thought that I can apply this in the Fab Lab. So I see that I can develop as well a lot of prototypes, combining a lot of techniques, materials, and also making different kind of innovation.
Really nice people here. I think that's the community factor is very important to me. It's just fun. Whenever I'm here, I don't feel like I'm working, but I'm learning new things every day and having a good time doing it.
The benefit of being part of a university is there's a basic funding. So students, people, whoever comes to this Fab Lab not necessarily has to pay anything to do things, to make things.
People come into the door, they have no idea how to use any of the machines, but they're excited, and that makes you excited. And when you teach them how to use it, they make amazing things, and that makes me really happy.
Most of the children studying now, they will have a job which at this moment not even exists. But what we know about this job is that it would be a great thing dealing with this digital means and this additive manufacturing.
We enable people to become makers again. So my grandfather used to be a maker. He was able to do almost anything. And during the time, I think people just forgot and didn't have the capabilities anymore to do whatever they have in mind. And with today's technology, we get a kind of reimburse. We get back the possibility to do things we want to do.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiman. Thank you, Professor Nebe, for your presentation and of course also for hosting us here today in the Fab Lab. That brings us to the end of today's program. Before we close the session, I would like to thank everyone who has joined us today online. We really hope you found it interesting. If you'd like to see back any of the presentations or the materials that we covered, we will send them to you in the meeting documents in the coming days. If you have any other questions, of course, feel free to contact us directly. And with that, thank you for being with us today, and we hope to see you at the next meeting.